Do you want to know how UFC President Dana White and former Apple CEO Steve Jobs are essentially cut from the same cloth? In any industry, it absolutely takes a genius for a company to stand out from the rest of the competition. In combat sports, where there are so many other companies and organizations that one must compete with, so is the case. Let's take the MMA scene, for example. The UFC nearly has complete domination over talent, viewership, and historical significance. The success of the company is largely due to the brilliance of the company's longtime president, Dana White. During his heyday, White was regarded as a fearless maverick, a whippersnapper, and a trailblazing innovator compared to his aging and out-of-touch peers like Bob Arum, Don King, and Barry Hearn. When all is done for White and his life's work, he will definitely go down as one of the most important historical figures in the sport. With that in mind, there's really only one person whose life and career mirror White's, and for that, we need to look over to the tech industry and shine the spotlight on Apple's late former CEO, the legendary Steve Jobs. The parallels between White and Jobs go way beyond the fact that they're both recognizable bosses of industry-leading firms. For one, both men created a brand and popularized it by becoming its face. Rather than operating in the secretive shadows as most executives do, White and Jobs decided to get their hands dirty and involve themselves in the company's groundwork. As a result, their names have been synonymous with the company they represent. You can't think of Apple without thinking about Steve Jobs, and you can't think of the UFC without thinking of Dana White. Both men are extremely savvy entrepreneurs as well. They understood that churning out high-quality products or content isn't enough, and that it's the company's responsibility to let consumers know why the products deserve their attention, time, and most importantly, their hard-earned cash. You'll probably notice that every time Apple releases a new iPhone, everybody wants a piece of it. It's not because they necessarily need to have them, but because it's the best phone Apple has to offer, and by extension, the best phone modern technology has to offer. This has been the case even if Jobs hasn't been around for almost a decade now. In the same breath, we can say this about the UFC too. Say what you will about the strength of some fight night events, but it's undeniable that the company has figured out a formula to convince its fans to tune into the fights week in and week out. That's the power of UFC marketing right there. Jobs and White also both know how good their products are, so what do? They showcase them. The former Apple CEO basks in the glory of showing off the latest his company has to offer with his company's launch events. When you think about it, it's similar to the UFC's Fight Night events, where the younger, yet-to-be-discovered future stars are showcased. However, there's one glaring aspect in which Jobs and White are completely different. When he was alive, Jobs stood on stage countless times to demonstrate the latest product, explain the changes, and in some cases, apologize for his errors. In contrast, the UFC president is someone who believes that people who watch and cover his company are in no position to tell him how to run things. In fact, White has told several of his critics to shove it. "We want John Jones and Francis Ngannou," the UFC fans clamored. "Nope, that's too expensive for my liking. Here's Derek Lewis versus Cyril Gane," White responded. "Pay the fighters more," the concerned followers of the sport said. "If I guaranteed you all $37 million, guess what you're gonna do? Not much." The UFC boss retorted back, and yes, that was an actual quote.
"If I guaranteed you all $37 million, guess what you're gonna do? Not much."
Love him or hate him, it's undeniable that White is a brilliant man who made brilliant contributions to the sport. As a result of his life's work, MMA, as we know today, is now a global phenomenon. These days, White is mostly perceived by the community as a greedy bigwig who cares more about the company's bottom line than the fighters. Gone are the days when he's considered to be the game-changing executive who breaks the rules and prioritizes quality over everything. Today, White has become a conduit for corporate America rather than a man of the people. In the iconic words of Harvey Dent in the movie The Dark Knight, "You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain." That's not to say that White is the devil incarnate though. He may be a larger-than-life character on our screens, but he's only human after all. And of course, being human means being imperfect. But the beauty about it too is that change is a part of human nature. As the years go by, we can only hope that Uncle Dana changes for the better, especially as he'll inevitably continue to be an influential force in the sport we all love and care for. Sportskeeda MMA is your source for all things UFC and MMA. Subscribe and follow us on all of our social media platforms for more.